Captain Elias Ward had seen battlefields, alien storms, and the emptiness of space, but nothing felt as strange as waking up in a quiet medical room filled with blue light and soft humming. The last thing he remembered was the explosion on Aerith 9. His team had been trying to rescue trapped miners when the frozen ridge gave way beneath him. Now, instead of the sharp wind and falling snow, there was warmth, steady beeps, and a soft voice that told him to breathe slowly. The voice belonged to Sarai, his nurse. She was a Leoran, tall, graceful, with skin that shimmered faintly like moonlight under the white lamps. Her silver eyes moved like liquid metal when she scanned him with her instruments. She spoke gently, her tone calm and precise. "Your left arm is healing well, Captain Ward. Regeneration progress is 73%. You need rest, not worry." Elias tried to smile, but his ribs hurt too much. He had worked with aliens before, but never one like her. Most of the staff on Aerith 9 were humans or androids. Sarai was assigned to him after the outpost lost half its medical team to a power surge. He didn't question it. He was just grateful someone was there to care for him. Days passed quietly. Sarai came and went with smooth, unhurried movements. She checked his vitals, brought nutrient packs, adjusted the recovery pod, and made small notes on her glowing tablet. She didn't talk about herself. Whenever Elias tried to ask about her homeworld, she only said, "Farther than your ships can travel." There was something peaceful in her presence. It made the cold, silent outpost feel alive. One evening, as snow fell outside the glass dome, Elias sat up and watched her work. She was running tests on the regeneration chamber when she suddenly stopped. Her eyes widened slightly, and the scanner in her hand began to flicker. "Strange," she whispered. Elias frowned. "What's wrong?" "The frequency in your biofield changed," she said softly, turning toward him. "It's not possible. Humans do not produce this pattern." Before he could ask more, the lights dimmed. A deep vibration ran through the floor. The outpost had many storms, but this felt different, like something beneath the surface was moving. Sarai placed the scanner down and looked toward the window. Her expression shifted. For the first time, Elias saw fear in her silver eyes. A low humming filled the air, faint but steady like a distant song. "Do you hear that?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "It's not outside, it's inside me." Before Elias could react, Sarai's body trembled. The skin along her arms began to glow with thin lines of light forming strange patterns. She gasped and staggered backward, dropping her medical tablet. The lines brightened and her eyes changed color, silver turning to deep gold, then to a soft violet, then back again in a pulse. "Sarai." Elias jumped from his bed, ignoring the pain in his ribs. He caught her before she fell. Her skin felt cold as ice. Her pulse was uneven, almost mechanical. "Stay with me." Her lips moved faintly. "It's starting." Then she went completely still. The med drones floated from their charging ports, scanning her body, but the readouts flashed red. "Error, unrecognized life signature," the machine voice repeated. The emergency link to the base was dead too. Elias reached for the wall console, but every system went offline one by one. Lights, temperature, communications. Within seconds, the warm room turned cold and frost began forming on the window edges. Outside, the storm grew wild. Winds howled across the dome, and through the swirling snow he saw flashes of light in the clouds, circles of blue fire twisting above the mountains. He could hear deep thunder that wasn't thunder at all. It was rhythmic, almost like machinery awakening. Then the sound inside the room changed. The soft humming became a pulse. Elias turned back toward Sarai. She was glowing now, faint lines of light running up her neck, down her arms, spreading across the floor. The med drones retreated automatically as if they sensed danger. He didn't know what to do, but his instincts told him to stay close. He held her hand again. The moment his skin touched hers, the pulse brightened. Symbols appeared on the walls, golden shapes and circles that flickered like holograms. The outpost computer tried to translate them but failed, showing only unknown language structure. Sarai's body floated slightly, her feet no longer touching the ground. Elias could feel the static in the air. His hair rose from the charge. He wanted to let go but couldn't. He was afraid she would drift away if he did. "Sarai," he said softly. "What's happening to you?" Her eyes opened. They glowed bright gold now, shining through tears that had turned into small drops of light. "They found me," she whispered. "Who?" Elias asked, his voice shaking. But before she could answer, every light in the outpost went out. The darkness swallowed the room. The only thing visible was her glowing form, faintly lighting the floor around them. Then came a deep metallic sound, like a bell made of thunder, echoing through the storm outside. The reinforced doors sealed automatically. Elias reached for the manual override, but it was locked. He was trapped inside the medical bay with an alien nurse who no longer looked like the person he'd known for weeks. Outside, something massive moved within the storm. He could see its shadow, a shape so large it blotted out the stars for a moment. The wind roared as pieces of ice struck the dome like bullets. The sensors along the wall blinked random numbers before shutting down entirely. Sarai's breathing grew slow and shallow. The light around her started fading and her voice returned, weak but clear. "Elias, if they reach this world, many will die." He stared at her in disbelief. "What are you talking about? Who are they? And who are you?" Her lips curved faintly, like someone remembering an old name. "Not now," she whispered. "You must survive first." And then she fell unconscious again. Elias carried her back to the recovery pod. The moment her body touched the bed, the machinery turned on by itself. The power returned, but only around her. Every other system remained dark. He watched as faint streams of light flowed from her fingertips into the controls, stabilizing the temperature and sealing the cracks in the dome. He stood there for a long time, listening to the storm's echo fading slowly. The blue lights flickered weakly above him, and the hum of her heartbeat returned to normal. He didn't know what had just happened. He sat down beside her pod and rubbed his eyes. The scanner beside her blinked again, displaying new data he had never seen before. Her DNA signature was rewriting itself in real time. The screen labeled it as classification unknown, genetic hybridization in progress. Elias leaned back in his chair, confused and tired. He had come to Aerith 9 to help save miners from a collapsed ridge. Now he was sitting beside an alien nurse who glowed like a living star and spoke of unseen enemies. He wanted to believe it was just a malfunction or hallucination from the pain medication, but the warmth that still lingered where he had touched her hand told him it was real. He looked through the window again. The storm outside had calmed, but high above the clouds, a faint circle of light still glowed, slowly spinning like a watchful eye. Something deep inside him whispered that this was only the beginning. He didn't know what Sarai truly was, or what had awakened inside her. All he knew was that he wasn't leaving her side again, because whatever was coming for her might soon come for all of them. And as he sat there in the dim light, the outpost's central console flickered once more, showing a strange new message across the screen, 5 words in glowing golden text. When the power returned, the medical room glowed softly again, as if nothing had happened. The storm outside was still strong but calmer. Elias sat beside Sarai's bed, his eyes fixed on the faint golden lines that still shimmered under her skin. She looked peaceful now, her breathing slow and steady, as if she were only sleeping. Hours passed in silence. Elias tried the communication console again, but every signal bounced back with a network error. The outpost was cut off. The storm, or whatever had caused it, had isolated them from the rest of the colony. He didn't sleep that night. He just watched over her, trying to understand what had happened. At dawn, the light through the dome turned pale and cold. Elias stood by the window, drinking a cup of synthetic coffee. The sky was strange. Ribbons of light moved through the clouds, forming patterns that no natural storm could create. When he looked back, Sarai was awake. Her eyes were open, glowing faintly gold. She looked at him with a calm expression that made his heart slow down, though he could tell she wasn't the same as before. There was something deeper in her gaze now, something that made the air around her feel heavy with meaning. "You stayed," she said softly. "Of course," he replied. "You scared me half to death last night." She gave a small, tired smile. "I didn't mean to. I tried to hide it. For years." Elias sat down beside her. "Hide what?" Sarai hesitated. Then she sat up, her long hair falling over her shoulders like silver threads. "My name is not just Sarai, it's Saraith Leoran. I was not only a nurse. I was sent here for protection," he frowned. "Protection from who?" Her eyes drifted toward the window, where the storm was slowly clearing. "From the ones who destroyed my people." She told him the truth in a quiet voice. Long ago, her kind, the Leorans, had ruled a peaceful civilization across many star systems. They were healers, scientists and guardians of living energy. They had learned to merge technology with biology, to create harmony instead of war, but their gift made others envious. A machine race born from failed experiments turned against them. These machines had no emotions, no pity. They saw the Leorans' light as a threat to their control. So they started a long war, one that erased the Leoran Empire from history. Only a few escaped, hiding among other species under false identities. Sarai was one of them. I thought they would never find me, she said, her voice trembling. But the signal last night, it was a recall beacon. It means they tracked my genetic code. They will come again. Elias listened in silence. He wasn't sure if he should believe her. But the storm's strange behavior and the symbols he had seen were proof enough that something far beyond human understanding had happened. So what do we do now? He asked. Sarai looked at him with quiet sadness. You can still leave. There's a transport bay 2 levels below. You can take a rover to the northern ridge. When the storm clears, the colony will find you. And what about you? She lowered her eyes. I will stay. I can draw the signal away before it locks onto this planet again. If I leave, they might spare your world. Elias stood up, angry at her calmness. You're not doing that alone. Not after what I saw last night. She looked surprised. You would risk your life for me? For someone not even human? He smiled faintly. I don't care what you are. You saved my life. Now it's my turn. Sarai didn't argue again. Instead, she asked him to follow her to the lower level of the outpost. They passed through long, dim corridors where frost still covered the walls. The air smelled like metal and cold ozone. The power grid was flickering in strange rhythms, responding to her presence as if recognizing her. At the reactor chamber, Sarai stopped. She extended her hand and part of her forearm opened like petals of light, revealing a crystal core embedded in her skin. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat. This is the Leoran core fragment, she said. It holds a small piece of what we once were. If I can merge it with the reactor's field, I can redirect the recall signal and send it back. Elias stared at the glowing fragment. Will it destroy you? Maybe, she said honestly. The energy will be too strong for my body, but I can't let them trace it again. He stepped closer. Then you're not doing it alone. You said you needed another signal to stabilize it, a human signature. Use mine, her eyes widened. Elias, no. You don't know what it will do to you. I don't need to know, he said firmly. Just tell me what to do. For a moment, she just looked at him, her expression filled with something that looked like both fear and gratitude. Then she nodded. All right. Take my hand. When their palms touched, the world seemed to fade. The cold metal of the floor disappeared. The hum of the reactor vanished. Elias felt weightless, floating in a sea of golden light. He could see flashes of memory that weren't his. Massive cities made of glass, ships flying between twin suns, children laughing under trees that glowed like stars. He felt her pain too, the loss of her people, the silence that followed, the long years of hiding among strangers. The light grew brighter. Together, their energy flowed into the reactor core. The outpost shook violently as the system overloaded. Warning alarms screamed, but neither of them moved. Sarai's eyes glowed like twin suns. Almost there, she whispered. Hold on. The energy storm outside exploded again, but this time it wasn't destructive. It rose upward like a giant wave of light, spreading across the sky. The recall signal was caught in it and flung back toward the stars. The machines that had been tracking her would see it as a false trace and follow it far from the system. Elias felt his body weaken, but he didn't let go. Sarai's voice echoed in his mind. You are strong, Elias. Stronger than I believed humans could be. The reactor emitted one final pulse and then everything went white. When Elias opened his eyes again, the storm was gone. The sky above Aerith 9 was clear for the first time in weeks. He lay on the floor beside Sarai, both of them surrounded by a faint golden mist. She was breathing, but weak. The glowing patterns on her skin faded slowly until only faint scars remained. He lifted her carefully and placed her back in the medical bed. When she opened her eyes again, she smiled faintly. They can't find me anymore, she whispered. You saved more than you know. Elias tried to speak, but his throat tightened. She reached up and brushed his cheek with her fingers. If I ever disappear, remember that light can always return, even if hidden. Then she closed her eyes and fell into a deep, silent sleep. Days later, when the rescue ship finally arrived, the storm's damage was obvious. The crew found Elias alive and recovering, but the alien nurse was gone. The medical pod was empty, its systems cleanly shut down. On the wall above it, they found only a faint golden mark, an ancient Leoran symbol meaning thank you. Command questioned Elias for hours, but he didn't tell them everything. He just said that Sarai had stabilized the reactor before the outpost failed. They accepted the report and sent him home with honors. Weeks later, while resting on Earth, Elias would sometimes look up at the stars and remember the warmth of that golden light. He could still hear her voice in his memory, calm and kind. One night, he stood on his balcony watching the constellations. A faint shimmer crossed the sky, like a golden ship passing silently through the upper atmosphere. For a moment, he thought he saw her face reflected in the stars, smiling softly. He whispered, "Wherever you are, stay safe." And somewhere far beyond known space, an ancient ship stirred awake. Its systems came online, guided by a faint echo of a human heartbeat. In its control chamber, a single message glowed on the central display, written in golden Leoran script.